For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Tabi Madiba, researcher and analyst. Professor Raymond Suttner joins me to discuss Cyril Ramaphosa's leadership, many challenges, no easy ride. Welcome, Professor.
Morning.
What can Cyril Ramaphosa do to bring the ANC together? As you stated that he was elected in a divided leadership between those who are loyal to him and those who remained loyal to the former President Jacob Zuma.
What I argue in the article is that there's ANC power, and in that respect he's facing a lot of division. But there's the power of the state, and there are a lot of things that Ramaphosa and his allies can do through state power, improving the lives of people, cleaning up the state, things like that, without going back to ANC structures every single day. And I think that it's very important that those aspects, he has to try to consolidate his support in the ANC. But in the ANC at the moment, he's facing problems in KZN, problems in Northwest, problems in Free State potentially, because the people who are elected there are Mahashule people, contestations in the Eastern Cape, contestations in Limpopo, and we don't know where else. In Mpumalanga we don't know exactly what the situation was, because for many years they were part of the so-called Premier League, or their Premier was. So we don't know. So what I've been suggesting is that state power is where things can be done, although there are problems. For example, the NPA has lost 3 cases against the Guptas. There is still this prosecution against so-called rogue unit. However, people don't feel, it must be done in a way that people feel that they can see that some effort is being made to introduce changes. I mentioned a case there of an office of the Home Affairs Department where people get to the office and they're told they must start queuing at 5 o'clock in the morning, and the office only opens at 8. And when this person that I've heard from went there at 5 o'clock, doors only opened at 8, and at 2:30 they just stopped dealing with him. They said the system is very slow and you must come again the next day. And the problem relates partly to some of the machinery, that some of the equipment that they used to use no longer being operative because of financial cutbacks. Now, IDs are very important for people. You can't do a lot of things without an ID. And if you are coming from very far away where there is not a Home Affairs office and you've got to come back, how do you afford this? So there's a sort of callousness that's always been part of Home Affairs, which you don't find if you go to Marlborough or Randburg here, where the standards, they give you problems, but the standards are more or less as before. But in many places people are finding that they're being treated with contempt. And it's very important that not only the state must be used, but that it must be monitored, that old practices are not recurring, and that the effect of the cutbacks are not being passed on to ordinary people in terms of their livelihood, their dignity, all these things.
And many people may say Ramaphosa's leadership is weak when looking at currently what is happening in the Free State with the ANC's NEC allowing an illegally and unconstitutional PEC and having forced to go with their compromise candidate in the Northwest to replace Supra Mahumapelo Job Mokgoro. So do you think Ramaphosa's leadership seems weak, or maybe is it still early to assess the new dawn?
Well, you know, you can only do as much as you're able to do by the people you have to work with. And he's got, at the national level, he hasn't he didn't arrive with more than a hairbreadth of support. In the Free State, I didn't know that the provincial PEC is illegal. I mean, I don't know, has there been a court case with that? Because I didn't know it has been declared illegal. I thought hasn't been challenged yet, but I may be wrong, that people were planning to challenge it. But you've got continual contestations over a number of different things, and no matter how strong Cyril Ramaphosa may be, he's got to work with others, and he's got to work with people who are dreaming not of making things better for people, but of enriching themselves. And I think those people are still there. There are still those who are supporting Jacob Zuma in KZN and things like that. They want a return to that period.
And do you think if the Ramaphosa-led government can explain to the people what is holding things back, rather than maybe promising them heaven and earth, maybe can change the way things are happening in South Africa, with people always burning public resources and touching trucks that are transporting goods on the national highways?
I think it's important to only undertake what you can do in a certain period, and if you can't do it tomorrow, you must explain to people why you can't do it tomorrow. Sit with them and explain it to them. There should be less of the symbolic handing over of keys to people, because when keys are handed to someone, to a house, everyone asks, when will mine come? It's very important, if you hand over keys, that you say, we are rolling out 100 more houses here in Eldorado Park, in Soweto, whatever it is, in the next 6 months, whatever it is, and you stick by that. And you need to take the public into your confidence and explain to them, we're facing these constraints. The country owes this amount of debt, it hasn't got enough money. But Cyril Ramaphosa has cut his own salary, but you have some ministers who are buying very expensive cars and things like that. And it's very important that the leadership as a whole must set an example that people can see that they're not just expecting the poor to tighten their belts.
And Ramaphosa has asked for a new 2019 election campaign approach that could appeal to the voters. So do you think this campaign can help the ANC recover the lost crucial metros such as the Johannesburg, Tshwane and Nelson Mandela Bay?
It's not very clear to me exactly what's new in what the ANC is doing. They claim they're going to have electoral forums all over the place. But in the end, a committee or one or two people is going to draft that manifesto, and it probably will be as appealing as it would have been had they not claimed to be doing all these fora. So I don't think that a manifesto on its own is going to win people over. People are, when they wanted to get rid of Zuma, but that has not translated into a high level of security of a Ramaphosa-led ANC. He still faces great opposition, and this thing of paying for Zuma's legal fees, he's not going to pay for him challenging some court decisions, or the government's not going to pay for that. So the sort of restive atmosphere in KZN may continue. Now, how well are those people going to campaign for the ANC if they've got these grievances? ANC in Northwest is in disarray. Supramahuma Philo remains chair of the ANC there. I don't know how strong it is in most other places. I don't know. I think that ANC will emerge as the strongest party. It remains something that you have to guess whether they'll get over 50%. I think they may well do that. The advantage for them is that the EFF and the DA are also in trouble. DA especially. EFF is in trouble in a different way, in that it makes statements which people get angry about. Some people are happy about it, so you don't know whether more people are happy or unhappy, and whether they've actually got more support through this. So I wouldn't like to speculate on, whether the ANC will do better and drive these. They can't win back the metros yet, but they can. The question is, will they keep the provinces? Metro elections come later.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about Cyril Ramaphosa's leadership, many challenges, no easy ride.